What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about if Randy will return in Scream 5. So, we've talked about a couple other characters. We talked about, obviously, Matthew Lillard's Stu. We've talked about Hayden Panettiere's Kirby, and I wanted to throw in Randy here. I've talked about him once or twice in the past, and, I don't know if you guys watch, but I actually have been Jamie Kennedy's YouTube channel. I think the guy is great. I think he is very genuine. I love the way he approaches a lot of things. I like that he's a celebrity that kind of takes the approach of like keeping like very hardcore politics and like preaching to people just out of his kind of entertainment stuff. I love it. I think he seems like a really awesome guy, very funny, obviously, and it got me. I've always liked Randy in the movies, but watching him too now on the side, it's like, okay, I have a renewed sense of talking about him, right? I think it's possible, by the way, possible while also being kind of unlikely. It's kind of like a mixed bag thing, that it is possible. I think he could return in Scream 5. We'll go over kind of the options of getting him into this movie. Before I get too far in, though, make sure, as always, you guys are subscribed, bell icon turn on. I know I always ask you guys for that. We're approaching 50K subscribers. We can definitely do it. Most people that watch these videos, not just Scream, but the entire channel, 85% around are not subscribed. So make sure if you guys are not subscribed that you do. I do a new Scream video every single week. I try to do it every single Tuesday. And obviously, if there's any news on Scream, I do that more. So there could be more than one video a week. And final thing, I know I always ask you guys this. If you guys aren't following me over on Twitter yet, Podcast Now 15 is my Twitter handle. Link for that is in the description below if you guys want to follow me over there. All right, so they've brought Randy back, like this is kind of misleading saying this, brought him back from the dead once before, right? Obviously, Scream 3. And that was through, like, the tape, obviously. And there was a cool story of how it was leaked. Everybody, I guess not really cool, because everybody kind of knew it was going to happen, I guess, if you were online back in the day. Now, as I've told you guys, I mean, I was literally, like, 3 or 4 years old at the time, so I wasn't, into that stuff or anything like that. But, no, so obviously they skipped 4, but 5 to me, and we've always talked about this, right? 5 I think is really going to respect, which is kind of odd because like Wes Craven did 4. I think 5 is going to respect 1 through 4 quite a bit. And there's a couple different ways of bringing Randy back. So his sister is back in this movie. Now, we've had quite a few discussions of what you can do with her. We've talked about, is she a kill to bring Sidney back? Could she be an opening kill? Now, I've said in past videos, I think I've even said in some collaborations with other people that, like, okay, like, she's a cool character, I guess. Let's be honest, though. Do we care that much about her character? And also, if you're gonna do like an opening kill, it needs to be big. There's no doubt about it. It needs to be a big thing. I don't think killing the sister of Randy, I don't think killing her is going to be the biggest thing on I don't even think I would say more than half the people that are going to watch this movie probably don't even know who she is, okay? So I think she's just a character, but that, honestly, that opens the door even better, because she could be a character that's there simply to bring Randy in. Now, she could have relationships with other characters, right? There's actually been rumors of other characters, specifically one in particular from Scream 2 coming back. So, like, there could be different reasons why you have her, but definitely another reason could be because of Randy, right? And that's happened before, so why not happen again, right? To bring Randy back in some way. Now, the thing is, these movies take place in the time periods that, like, we are in. So it's been like 20 years, let's say, since like Scream 1 and 2. I'm rounding kind of down a little bit, but it's been so long. We're assuming if he's on like a VHS tape, right, that he would then have to look young, because it would have to be a recording that he did back Scream 1, 2 era. And that made more sense with Scream 3. It doesn't make almost any sense right now to, number one, bring Jamie Kennedy back and then de-age him. But now that does make sense, and we'll talk about that in a second. But de-age him for like a video, like literally a video to Sidney. So and again, like, they've already done that, so it's definitely possible to do it again. Like, if they wanted it would be forced. It would, no doubt about it, it would be something that would be forced in, but they could do it. Now, what I think is much more likely is flashbacks, and we've talked about flashbacks before. I want to talk more about them too in future videos, because I think the potential for them is really high. So here's the deal. There's 2 ways they could do flashbacks, in my opinion, and I'm kind of very short-sighted when I think of these things. I for whatever reason, sometimes my brain can't reach out, so I'm sure there's more than just 2 ways, and let me know if I missed any in the comments, but there's 2 ways I can think of, like, right now on the spot without any editing, okay? And that it's, you literally replay scenes from the past movies. So movies, shows, they have done this. Even that, I get not games necessarily, but definitely movies and shows. It is possible to literally replay a scene from past movies, okay? Where you do literally nothing to them. You know what I mean? There's no de-aging. They're not new scenes, so you know what I mean? There's nothing that you have to do, but you could do literally like showing it. So like if Sydney's having like mental breakdowns or whatever the heck's gonna go on, if we're assuming that there is well, and that's the ththing too, like how do flashbacks work? Is it because Sydney's like telling a story? You could do like a Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows where like you retell it, like you tell a story and you're showing it as you're telling it. Now obviously that's a very different example, but you could do that where you're seeing something play out, and again there's nothing done to it, so you'd literally be replaying a scene from Scream 1 or 2. Now, the thing that makes the most sense to me would be Scream 1. So if we're talking about Randy, is we were trying to get Randy back into the movie, if that's the whole goal. Scream 2, like there's a couple, interactions between Sydney and Randy, but not like a ton. And then, he dies, but he dies with Gail and Dewey in like the park of the campus, right? So like that's all happening. I don't know if there would be a reason to retell that. But if we're thinking about retelling something, what does make sense to retell is the very end of Scream 1, right? We know Stu's house is in the movie, so if Sydney's replaying the confrontation between Stu and Billy, Randy was there. For parts of it. Not all of it, but for parts of it. So, again, like, I don't know exactly how they would do it. I don't know if they would literally just show the same scene, but that's one way. So if you're going to retell something that's already happened, and you'll literally play out the visuals, you're literally going back to 96 and 97 to do these, visuals, then they could do that, okay? What makes more sense, and that doesn't make no sense. It does make sense. It doesn't make the most sense, though. What makes the most sense to me, if you do flashbacks, would be to have new, entirely original scenes. Now, you are playing with de-aging technology. I've never hated it as much as other people have hated. I know there's like a group online, at least online, that does not like when anybody's de-aged, okay? And I understand it, because there is some de-aging that kind of wears off, like after like a year or so, and it just looks kind of terrible. There's some de-aging that looks pretty okay, and it still looks okay right now. And de-aging is kind of a thing that we've just recently started doing over the last like 5 or 6 years in Hollywood, right? Again, some have been done well, some have not. So if you're gonna do it for this movie, I mean, it's going to be something that just sticks with you. So then if you watch it in another 5 years, you're going to see it, and you're going to be like, okay, does that break anything? Does that break my immersion into Scream? So you will have those issues if you do de-aging. But again, if we're assuming new scenes with old characters, you'd have to do that. You'd have to bring them back and then de-age them. Now, again, I think that's where you could do something like that. I think you could, and the options, and we've talked about Stu returning. Stu, you could bring Matthew Lillard back. You could bring Skeet Ulrich, and you could do Billy if you want to. And again, those two, I guess maybe even Billy, depending on how the story goes of Scream 5, they could make the most sense, okay? But again, if you're going to do like a group scene, even like a group scene of like them with even Tatum, right, in the first movie, if you bring all of them back, I mean, that would be an enormous big thing. That could be asking too much. Then you could be saying, okay, well, did they get in the world that we're in? Because don't forget, they filmed this right in the fall, which was not the peak, but we were still kind of bad in the stuff around the world. Did they get Skeet Ulrich, Matthew Lillard, Jamie Kennedy? Did they get all these people back to film like 1 or 2 scenes with them? You know what I mean? So again, kind of wishful thinking. I think it's definitely possible. It's also possible that he's not in it, but he's mentioned by name. I like it when movies do that, by the way. I like it when there's something thrown out there that just so they remember the character. You know what I mean? So it's tough, because this is a movie that I think is going to honor the past movies, and I don't know if that means like cameos or like in this way, cameos in a movie where a lot of people die really means flashbacks or showing them in some way, maybe a picture. I know we've talked about that before, even with Kirby. Like, does Sydney mention her name? Is there a picture of her like on a desk somewhere? You know, like, are these could be ways of doing it, and they're pretty easy. I don't think it's all that hard to throw in a line that you recognize what happened before. You know what I mean? You don't want to force it. It doesn't need to be forced, but I definitely think you can find somewhere in in dialogue where you're talking about past events and you throw in these people's names. You know what I mean? So, here's hoping, again, just to kind of, even just to give Jamie Kennedy a chance to come back into that role. Because, and by the way, if they're new scenes, yes, they're like, it's weird because they're new scenes, but then they're from them 25 years ago, so that's kind of, and then if you're doing that, like, it has to serve a story purpose, so then why would Randy be there for that? Like, it's definitely difficult, but it just gives us another chance to see that character. We'll have to see. I don't think we'll visually see him, even though I kind of want to. I'd kind of want to see how they could pull it off. So I would want to. I don't think we'll see it, but I do think we'll hear his name, or maybe we'll see a picture or some indication that they recognize that Randy was a character and they kind of like let us know. You know what I mean? That's what I think. So let me know in the comments below, guys. What do you think? Do you think he returns? Do you think, again, mentioned by name or like an item of his or, something? Let me know what you guys think. Again, make sure you guys are subscribed. Bell icon turned on if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter. Podcast Now 15 is my Twitter handle. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. New Scream video every single week. I hope to see you guys for next week's video.